Hey everyone, sorry that I had to cancel class for this week, but honestly there was only a little bit that I wanted to show you, mainly because I wanted you to be able to work on your composites, get answers to any questions that you might have on them, bounce ideas off of other people, or get a critique from somebody else as to how you're doing what you're doing. I had a small group activity, but it's minor. So I just wanted to walk through one other thing that I wanted to discuss in correlation with compositing. If you remember that when we talked last week, we talked about 3 different types of compositing, and one of them was a collage. And some people think of it as scrapbooking, stuff like that. And that's one thing I wanted to come back to a little bit this week and just talk about thought processes behind making your own template for really anything. It doesn't have to be a collage as in a scrapbooking collage. This can be anything. If you're doing albums of any kind, portfolio albums, if you want one of the lay flat books as your own portfolio, it could be marketing pieces for yourself and for your business. There's so many different ways to create a template aside from what already exists. You might have ideas of something that you want to create, and it's so easy to create this stuff on your own. So I wanted to show you some of those things, and maybe just as far as getting started with that, with a few examples. So I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to go in here. Now I know I've brought up a few templates in the past. I just wanted to show you differences in templates. If you remember back in digital editing, you guys worked with in the layers chapter of that book. You guys worked with a document where it was a page from a wedding album and nothing was layered, and you had to name all the layers and then color code things where necessary, group things into folders, stuff like that. And I just wanted to show you how it's different. You can buy templates from tons of places. Some places offer templates for free, some are purchase templates, some are companies where you pay a monthly fee and you have unlimited access to all the templates that they have on their website. And they have things like albums, wall collages, marketing pieces, business cards, Facebook timeline templates, absolutely anything you can think of. And some also cater to certain labs. So if you're working with a particular lab, those websites give you templates that fit right within, like, let's say an accordion book. I have a template for one where it gives me the guidelines like you see here in this document. So I know when I'm building the template that I don't go beyond those lines, because there's a possibility anything beyond these guidelines could get cut off. So lots and lots of different things. And I want to show you some that were purchased or created myself, and then I just want to walk you through creating something on your own just to get you started. There's so much more detail to go in with this, but really it's playing and trial and error more than anything else. So again, just to get you started. So here's an example from, I don't even remember the company because I have these all opened already. But here's an example. This one's particular to a wedding album. And I'm just gonna make this full screen to avoid any distractions of anything else. And from this company, what they have is they have kind of like a dummy top layer, just so, because it says exactly that. This layer makes the file size smaller for quicker downloads. Basically what that is it's not rendering a preview. So a lot of templates that you buy might have this dummy top layer or a guide layer that you simply turn off and everything else is underneath. So here's an example of a template. And just to kind of give you an idea, if I drill all the way down here, you have the basic white outlines of each of these frames. There's a texture applied over the top of everything else. Again, this is why you want a texture library. You can use this. There's infinite possibilities when it comes to having textures when you're doing stuff like this. They do have another pattern that they overlaid a texture on top of the pattern, and you can actually see that it's clipped with the layer underneath so that it only applies to this area right here. It doesn't apply to the background. Because it's clipped, it only shows through on the area where there are pixel values of the layer underneath, this layer. So it only shows through on those parts. And then we have the placeholders for each one. These black boxes, most templates you buy, they are just simply black boxes that are labeled as holders or place image here type of a deal. These red layers are empty layers. They serve zero purpose aside from the fact that they're already clipped, and it actually saves you a step as far as clipping the image to the layer underneath. And let me just show you what it does. I'm going to place an image. I'm just going to place embedded in this case, and we'll just take the open folder here. I have no idea. I need a vertical image though. There, let's go for that one. So I'm going to place this image inside, and I want it to go in this box right here. So I'm going to resize it. Hold on, my shift key. Resize within this space here. I guess it does need to be a bit wider. I just have to overlap it on top of the black box so that I know I don't have any areas where the image is not showing through. I'm going to hit return to accept that. And now this layer right here, I want to put into that placeholder, which is placeholder number 1. I can see by the thumbnail, and it's usually labeled left to right, top to bottom. And all I have to do is drop it in between. It says place image below this layer. And when I do so, anything you put below a clipped layer automatically clips it also. So while this layer serves zero purpose, I guess it does serve a purpose, but as far as content, it serves zero purpose. But its only purpose is to automatically clip that layer underneath, so I don't have to option click in between these two layers here. It automatically does that for me, and now it's placed inside this placeholder, to which I could choose with my move tool to move it around, reposition if possible, which I really don't want to because it just fits the width of it. So I would leave it, let me undo that. I would leave it right where it is, but I might choose to move it up and down a little bit. I'm going to hold on my shift key so that I don't move it left to right. Move it down just a tiny bit. And that's really all you would have to do with it. So templates like these are really nice. Again, this one is and you see there's guidelines set up because when it's placed into a book, anything beyond these guidelines are not guaranteed to be there. So when you're placing an image, especially on these two, I need to be careful what's showing on the top and the bottom because there's a chance it could get cut off. This is a template for a 10 by 20 or a 10 by 10 folded album. This is a full page spread. So this would be like page 2 and 3 of the book. So it's a 10 by 20 template. Now this one is a card. This is a Christmas card that was developed for one of my clients. And you can see, yet again, how it's built. This is just a textural templated background. I actually had that from something else that I worked on. And I simply changed the color of the background. Here, let's do this. Oops. No, I applied a different background over the top. I'm sorry. So I have a white background with a texture added to it, and then I colorized it, and you can see that it says it's overlay. It's an overlaid color, but the blend mode is set to color burn. So the color applies over the top of these 3 layers. So the background is 1. Then for this particular image, I found that it actually helps separate the image a little bit better. So this is simply just selected pixels. Like this is the marquee tool that I simply selected a portion of the image, created a new layer, first I created a new layer, then I put this, made this selection, and then I filled it with a color. So I simply selected, oops, I'm working on 2 monitors here, sorry. I simply selected a color that I thought might work well, or maybe even a color from the background. And then, let me create a new layer here. Here, let's use this layer right here. And then I simply fill it. I'm going to option delete for my foreground color. And then it simply fills it. And now I have this on a layer that I can simply do whatever I want with. So it's just a background graphic really is all it is. You'll see as I build the rest of it here, because I have the main image and then I have each of the photos in a group, and it's just duplicated from the previous one. So it's simply just, where is it? Right here. It's simply just the frame of the image, the black box for clipping it, the image that's clipped, and the black box has this texture built right in it. And each one is like that. It's just a duplicate of the last. They're just labeled for placement is all they are. So this image can be, minus the text layer here, text. So this text group right here simply just serves the purpose of the text, the little snowflake icon. That's pretty much everything. So this is a very simple 5x7 holiday card or announcement, graduation party announcements, all that kind of stuff. Templates can be used in this way. This is just another one. This is a wall collage. It is sized for a 20x20 print, and this one you can see is just a little bit different of a layout. It's simply the black boxes. So your job would be to place the image exactly how we did before, except for this time you would have to actually option click, just use the same image. You would actually have to shift. I'm just going to do my option shift to size it to the center. Whoa! Let's try that again. Option shift. I'm also using my Wacom tablet, so my mouse is a little sensitive here. There we go. So fit over the top of this box. Then hit return to accept that. Bring it to down here because it's the middle image. Bring it above that layer. Option click to fit within there, and then reposition to look good within that box. There we go. Move it down with my arrow keys a little bit there. So this one isn't as detailed as some of the other ones. This was another downloaded template. It's definitely not as detailed where it has the blank layers to mask within. They're all labeled picture mask, which really doesn't narrow it down. But you can see how other ones might look. This is one for a marketing piece. So it has the guidelines specific to a lab. I believe this one's for Miller's lab, if I remember correctly. So it has text on it, and each one of these gray boxes is a picture box. It's a marketing brochure. This is the inside of it. There's another PSD file for the outside of it. And you do the exact same thing, just simply clip your layers within it. And then it has the text layers, and I can change that if I want to, because it's just filler text. So just another example. So what I want to do is I want to show you how you can create your own from scratch. I'll use an example. I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone here. The poor third child never gets the same things as the older two. So way back when, with the older two, I found a product that I really enjoyed, and it is an easel. I don't know if I have a picture to share. Maybe I do. It'd probably make more sense if you could actually see it. Do I have it? It's just on the lab's website, a mini mount. Here we go. So one of the labs that I use has these mini mounts, and this is what I wanted to show you. It's like a wooden board, and then they're mounted on easels. So with each one of my children, at least the older two, I created a 5x10 easel mount for them. So poor third child doesn't have it yet. I did this at 8 months with every single one of the kids. He's going to be 2. So let's make one. Let's get this child caught up here. So I have a template made, but I'm going to make one from scratch so you can kind of see the thought process and how it was all put together. So I'm going to create a new document, and I'm going to create it to the size specs of the lab. Again, blink, working on 2 screens here. So this is going to be a custom size. I am going to make this 10 inches wide by 5 inches high. I don't believe I created the other one. Okay. Certain labs, when you create templates, if you know where it's going to be printed or where it's going to be used, it's good to look to see if they have guides available. Some labs allow you to download guides and then build them into your templates or use them as a starting point for their templates. And I don't believe I have one open here. Nope, I don't. Let me see if I can find one for you guys real quick. I used to have templates for, okay, like for example, if I were doing a mini card, these are templates for White House Custom Color. So you can download all of the guide templates for everything that they have. Oh no, sorry, this is ProLab. Cannot be opened. Oh, because I'm doing this. We'll get there. There we go. So you can see it actually gives you the templates and it tells you this guide layer gets turned off, but it has all the guides built in. So here's the bleed, you're okay using it up to that point. Here's where typically the trim line ends, and this is the safe area just in case to give yourself a little cushion. It needs to be inside the smallest box here for this particular product. So some labs will give you that. Don't save. So I kind of know the guidelines of what I'm using here. So I'm going to go back here. Let's start this again. 10 inches by 5 inches. I'm going to leave the resolution at 300. This particular lab says 300 is a good resolution for this. Background color, that doesn't necessarily matter. As long as I'm working in RGB, we're good. And I'm going to create. I'm sitting in the dark, so it just got really bright in here. Okay. So one important thing is that I want to have my ruler guide up, and I'm going to drag over my guides to give me basically my trim or my safe area. If you don't have the ruler up, remember it is simply a Command R, or it's under View and Rulers. And then I'm just going to drag it over, and for this particular lab, 1/4 of an inch is kind of that safe area, but I'm going to go to 0.3 inches just to be safe. One thing you can do when you're drawing guides, here's a little side note, if you hold down your Shift key, it will snap to the incremental lines that are showing on your ruler. So in order to get, well, mine doesn't go right to 0.3, but to get to that incremental line, I can hold down my Shift key and it will snap to each one of those little tick marks up here. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit. It'll probably give me a little bit more accurate. My Wacom tablet's giving me a little bit of an issue. And every time I lift my pen off my Wacom tablet, come on. Closer, closer. There we go. Now for this particular template, I know that I'm not going to have anything over here, so I'm not too worried about this side. If you look at the sample from the last child, the image stops over here. It's more so the text that I have to worry about. So I'm gonna, I guess I could draw the line over there, but that I can get a little bit closer to that edge because I don't need to worry about the text as much as the picture. So I have my guidelines for this. Now I can start working. I can lock my guides if I want to. Under the view, you have an option to lock guides. That's a great idea when you start laying out some of the boxes and you're moving stuff around. So many times I have accidentally been working on something and then I don't know it, and I end up grabbing, with my move tool, I end up grabbing this and dragging it when I don't want to. So locking your guides is not a bad idea once you have them set, because then, as you can see, when I mouse over, I can't accidentally move it. Sorry if you can hear my computer, the fan sounds like an airplane taking off. So now let's start building this. I'm not going to worry about the background color quite yet, because this background, each one had a blue background, but I matched it. I picked a color off of the image itself, so I'm going to do that part last. I'm going to worry about these boxes, the placeholders, right now. So I am going to use the shape tool. So I use the U key to get to the rectangular tool, If one of the other ones are showing, just get yourself to the rectangular tool. And then I want to draw my first box here. And it took me a little bit of playing to get it the way I want, so hopefully I kind of remember here. But what I do know is that I want the image to go from here to the middle and the bottom image to go from here to the bottom of the safe area. So I actually do need one more guideline, and that's one at 2.5 inches because it's a 5-inch document. So this will give me my guideline to draw my box over here. So now I'm going to draw my box. I need 3 boxes across. So I don't have a particular size that I'm using in this. If I would obviously be looking at the width height as I'm drawing my box here. But for this example, I'm just eyeballing it. Okay, and I have a stroke that I don't want. Okay, so I have my box. You can see I have a rectangular box here. Now, one thing I forgot to check before I drew my box was that I don't have any fill, which I do want. So I'm going to select a gray color, and I had a stroke, which I don't want. So I need to turn that off. I simply want a gray box. That's all I need. And this is exactly what I need. Now, if my guesstimate is correct, I want all 6 boxes to be the same. So if my guesstimate's correct, I can simply duplicate this top to bottom. Easiest way I think works when I'm doing something in this situation is I'm in my move tool, I option drag to create a duplicate. As I'm doing that, I'm just going to I can hold down my shift key so that it stays in line no matter how I move my mouse. It stays in line with it. But I do have my snap to guides on, so it will line up. And I'm just going to drag it right next to the other one. And then I'm going to do that one more time. And these boxes are a little big. All right, let's shrink these boxes. All right, so I need to put text over here yet. My boxes are a little too big. All right, let's fix this. I'm going to select all 3 of these rectangular box layers here. I'm going to do a Command T to transform. And I'm just going to make it smaller. Right about there. And because I highlighted all 3 layers and did my Command T, all 3 boxes should still be exactly equal because I just squished them together a little bit. There we go. Now when I have boxes that are butting up against each other, I like to slightly change the color so that I can tell where one box ends and the other one starts. Just a slight variation, a little bit darker. There we go. That's better. So here's my top row. I can and should relabel these right away. So this is going to be the top left. This is going to be the top middle and top right. Okay, now I want to make the ones on the bottom. Easiest way, highlight these 3, use my move tool, option, drag down, and I just copied all 3. Ta-da! I can change the colors of these too if I really want to, just so that it's slightly different than the row above. There we go. And make this one a little bit lighter. There we go. And then I'll just relabel this one. So this will be bottom right, bottom middle, and bottom left. And then to further organize this, I'm simply going to group these together by rows. So I'm going to select my top row. I'm going to Command G, or use this little folder icon down here. Command G to put those into a group, and I'm going to do the same thing here. Command G. This is going to be the bottom row, and this is going to be the top row. Top row, bottom row. Honestly, aside from the text, I'm pretty much ready to go here. So I can now place my images inside my template. I think what I'll do is just stick a background color in here for now, a bluish background color, because I'm going to place the text before I do this, and the text is white, so I just want to be able to see it on the background. So let's just do that real quick here before I place my images. I'm just going to use his name. And it's hiding underneath everything. There we go. And it's blue. Let's make that white. And I don't remember the font that I used. And it's in all caps. Why are we in all caps? Oh, it's also the font I chose. That doesn't help, does it? All right. This one? It's close enough. We're going to use that one for now. So let's simply... I'm also going to rotate that beast straight away. Oop. Bring this back in here. Text is going to have to go on the top of everything. That's a little bit better. I probably could make my images just a little bit bigger, because I could put it out to about here. Let's do that. Highlight my two groups, Command T, and I am just going to stretch those up a little bit. More space, bigger images. There we go. So I have his name. The only other thing I need to add in is simply, whoops, selected my other text layer here. Okay, just get out of the selection here. 2015, since we're a couple years behind here. Come on. There we go, make that just a bit bigger. There. That down here. Tuck it in under that J. All right, now I can place my images. So my images right now are in Lightroom. Here they are, all picked. They're not color corrected, but we're going to go with it anyway. So I have my 6 images picked. I'm going to export those. Command Shift E. I want the full size, so I'm just going to use this template because it gives me a full size image. And export. There we go. For a second, and then we're going to get this all set. One other thing I could do while that's exporting, I don't know if, oops, it's done. I don't know if you can see here, but on here, if you look at the actual text layer, there are some effects on this text layer. Actually, the text isn't even white. There's some effects on this text layer, making it white, and then there's an outer glow and a stroke that's applied to it. I can apply these on top of the other one too if I would like to. And I might do that right now also, because eventually I will have to. So I'm going to do an outer glow, which people often think outer glows are simply a white glow on the outside. If I make this a bit larger, you can see what it looks like right now. However, outer glows can be used as shadows if you use it right. I'm going to change the color. I'm going to flip what it's doing. I'm going to change the color to black. I'm going to change the blend mode to the opposite screen. I'm going to go multiply. So now it's very much like a shadow. I'm going to crank this opacity a bit more so you can see it. And I might have to tweak it once I get the images in there, just simply because it might be too much of an outer glow down here. It might be too much of an opacity too. So I'm simply going to tweak it. Now I know I had a stroke on the other one, but I think, if I remember right, it was a black and it was just ever so faint. And it was on the, I don't believe, no, it was in the center. There we go. That's pretty good. Let's go with that. Okay, now I can place my images. So I'm just going to place embedded, so it's not linking to the folder I put it in. It's going to embed it within the document. So my template's going to be a little bit larger. As I'm navigating here, one thing to point out at this point, before I place all of my images, one thing you might want to consider doing is actually save this as a blank template so that you have your empty boxes and everything ready to go. I'm just going to keep moving so you can see the final result, but at this point my template is pretty much done. Now I'm at the point where I'm just using it for something that I want to print out. Now I don't know, I'm going to have to do some rotating of these images because I didn't edit these at all or level. My colors are off and it's going to drive me nuts. Whoops. So it's going to be a matter of placing these. I might end up moving these around afterwards, but just to give you an idea, there's one top row on the right. There's one image. And I just want the size of him somewhat consistent in each image as much as I can help it. I know it's not the case in every single one. What the heck is it doing? I have no idea why it's doing that. This one I'm going to put somewhere over here, but I can't see it. I can also place these from Bridge if I want to. Alright, this is getting ridiculous. It's only letting me use my arrow key. What is going on here? I think my computer is wanting to quit for the day. Okay, let's go here, back in here. What on earth is going on? Let's see what this is going to do with the Wacom tablet. Huh. Might be the Wacom tablet. I need to reset it. Wait, I placed that one. That one's not even in focus, you guys. That's not cool. And trying to guess head size while it's hiding behind a box here. Bottom left. Not too bad. Use my move tool. This is off of it. There we go, so you can kind of get the idea here. Now the only thing I want to do is change my background color because that blue is going to drive me nuts. So I'm going to try and zoom in because I can't get a reading off of that color. It doesn't look quite right. I want this to be pretty dark, so get in that general range. That's not too bad. I might make that a little bit more blue and a little bit darker, but other than that, there we go. And I could overlay textures and stuff on here. For this particular one I didn't, just because of the product. It has beveled edges and stuff, and the texture was a little overkill. But at this point I could grab textures, lay it over the top, change the blend mode of that texture. I might separate these images with some type of stroke on the boxes if I want to, just because the backgrounds tend to blend together here, so it looks a little strange. I could do something with those boxes. What I would do is you actually do it on the square layer, not on the image, because the layer style or effect that you put on actually applies it, I don't even know how to explain it, like over the top of the image. So for example, if I take that top left box and I want to apply a layer style, maybe an inner glow might work well, just for a little bit of separation between here without doing a hard stroked edge. I could create this as a shadow again, because I'd much rather have the size here so it looks like a bit of a shadow inserted, but just ever so slight, just to give it a little bit of something. So you can see it's applied to the box itself, but because it's an inner shadow, whatever is clipped inside, that effect is applied over the top of it. So if this is what I want it to be, I can see now here's the inner glow. And if you want to learn another cool trick, I can copy this to all of those square layers very simply. First, I need to right click on the effect itself. So I'm right clicking here and I'm doing copy layer style. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to command click all of these remaining 5 boxes, right click on any one of those once I have them highlighted, and I'm going to paste layer style. And now all of them have that layer style on it. So quick and easy. Obviously I'd have to move these around a little bit, these lines being off and not everything rotated drive me nuts a little bit, but other than that, you can see how that template is put together. So aside from any small tweaks I need and the fact that I have to color correct all of these images, aside from that, this print is pretty much ready to go, and I have a template that I can save with or without the pictures, and I'm ready to use it as often or as little as I want. Hopefully not 2 years after the fact for anyone else. Other than that, that's just the quick overview that I wanted to give you guys. There's so much more that we can do with this, but if you know how to get it started, you can take it from there and you can get to the point where you're creating collages like this. You can make money from this stuff. You can simply just do it for your own sake, so you're not creating things over and over and over again. Every time you want to upsell something to a larger print, you can use one of your templates and you can upsell it. These are things, now we're doing it in Photoshop, but as a lot of you remember from taking digital workflow, these can be created in workflow too. They're simply a preset. Sometimes the process of creating it is not as easy, but overall, it's no matter what you use it in, creating a template for composite work, no matter where you're creating it, it's a really, really good idea. I mean, I have templates created for blogs or just Facebook posts and things like that. They're created in Lightroom just because it saves me a step, really. A lot of my printed ones, the templates are in Photoshop just because I do a little bit more customization than what Lightroom allows me to do. But just think of how you can use this. This can be used for anything and everything. It can be as simple as a mat, like a square box in a document, for something just to, let me go to photo here, and let's just do an 8x10 landscape print. Seriously, it can be as simple as here's a 1-inch guide here, 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 and here. And in the portfolio and promo class, we're actually going to talk about creating a digital mat for your images. So if this is something you're thinking about, it's something that's easily done. You can, oh geez, here it goes again. Let's create a black box here. And then I'm going to put, let's do it more as a drop shadow. Hello, drop shadow. Multiply distance. Why am I not seeing it? Oh, there it is. That's weird. Okay, there we go. So it can simply be just a quick little template that you have that you can drop a single image in to post online. A lot of photographers don't like posting just the image itself. They like to mat it to give it more of a fine art feel to it. So simply just having a document that is exactly this, and that's the only thing that has in it, will just still save you so much time that all you have to do is place that image inside of it and you're good to go. I don't even know, that's not obviously the image I would stick in there, but let's just pretend for the moment. And now I have a matted print ready to go, and I could hide, I could clear my guides, or I could just hide my guides for the moment. So this would be what I could show in print if I wanted to. Quick, easy things to do. Think about it, think about how you could use it, think about what you want to do with it. We will be creating a template as something we do in the future. So even though this is not part of your assignment coming up here, whoops, part of your composite project, you have your blended composite, creative combo, and your surreal life. This is something we will come back to and we will use again. So just know that. But other than that, you guys are set. Just keep working on this project. Know that Flex Lab for Monday is just bumped back. So if you want some help, 3:30 to 5:30 is going to be the time frame. As soon as my husband gets home from work, I'm bolting on in and I'll be there until the night class starts. And then Monday night Flex Lab is the same. Tuesday Flex Lab is the same. Thursday I do not have Flex Lab. I have to cancel that Flex Lab. But if you would like to come in at a different time or set up another time with me, just let me know. I'm sure I can have some flexibility in between everything else, or just when we have lab time in other classes. So just let me know. But other than that, you guys should be good to go. We're going to talk about, you'll see in the syllabus, is this the syllabus? You'll see in the syllabus, it says that one thing we're going to talk about this week is going through like a midterm review. You will get all the information for it next week. There isn't really an actual exam, which I'm going to talk about next week. So next week the plan is, don't worry about this review, I'm going to take this out right now because there really isn't anything to review for what we're doing, but we're going to talk about it next week with what you're going to do. And then it also says critique day. One thing I want to do is critique the composites that you guys complete, kind of like a final critique with it. We'll do some critique things as a group. We'll do some critique things more in pairs or smaller groups, just to get some more detailed feedback with everyone's stuff, because compositing is a big part of what you do as a photographer. So I want to just make sure that we're understanding how those go together and get everyone's feedback on it. So that will be the plan for next week, and then that also gives us a little bit of a cushion to discuss any questions that you might have with any of the compositing techniques that we discussed. So bring your questions next week, have your projects ready, and we will take it from there. See you then.